Awesome. I'm so excited. Brittani Hayes is going to be our special guest tonight. I am absolutely just honored, blessed, and just so thankful that you decided to take your time out of your busy life and day and business to come here and speak some life into our team, give us some awesome tips to take away. And we just want to get to know you, what you do with your business, and, all that great stuff. So if you want to start with just telling us your story and kind of why you got started. Doesn't have to be like the full out version, just a shortened version is completely fine, but just so we get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for having me. So I have been in the business for about 2.5 years, actually coming up on my 3 years. And I got started after watching my enroller on social media for a while. I actually watched her for 11 months to be exact. I was her loyal customer for hair, skin, and nails. I was one of her first customers when she first joined. She joined, and I think about 2 weeks later, I signed up for hair, skin, and nails. And prior to her joining, I had never heard of ItWorks. In fact, I was super intrigued. Like all the cool products she was posting about, I was like, all I had ever heard of was like Mary Kay and stuff like that before. So it caught my eye right away, and my hair just flat out wouldn't grow. So I was like, what the heck? I'm gonna try this stuff, and I'll support her. Her sister is actually married to my husband's cousin. Yeah, I was trying to make sure I got that right. So we're kind of like weirdly related, but not really. So anyway, so I knew her. Just wanted to support her and try it out. My hair grew 4 inches in 2 months. So needless to say, I was a believer on the products from that point. I kept my auto shipment on that entire 11 months and just kept watching her. And I watched her go triple diamond in her first 7 months, earn all these bonuses. And I just could never get it out of my head. Like I would literally sit there at night thinking, okay, like I know her, I know this is real, but I just don't know if that would work for me. And I would tell myself like, well, I don't have a big network and people probably would like me like they like her. Everybody likes her. They probably won't like me. And I just would talk myself out of it and just kept letting fear get in the way. And so finally, after a lot of watching, we were in a place where we desperately needed a financial miracle. Money was just tighter than tight for us. We were having to put gas and groceries on our credit card. We literally had barely enough positive cash flow just to pay our rent. And my husband was working so hard so I could stay home with our kids. I had 4 kids at the time. I have 5 kids now. But at the time, my 4th baby was 8 weeks old. And I was also taking care of my grandpa full time. So I had like the craziest life you can think of. My husband was never home. He was on like 16-hour days. And that was like one thing that kept holding me back was like, could I even handle something else? But one night I was just crying out to God for a solution. And I felt like he so clearly said to me in that moment, Brittani, the answer's been right in front of you all along. Just trust me and just do it. So I reached out to her, jumped in, never looked back. I literally asked no questions. I just said, hi, I want to join your team. And she walked me through signing up, and that was that. From that moment forward, I committed to doing everything she taught me to do. I told myself, if it'll work for her, it'll work for me. I'm a hard worker and I'm willing to learn. Even if I'm slow, like if I'm teachable, like this has to work for me. And I kind of just had that mindset from day one. And I always like saying this because people ask me like, how did you know like what to do or whatever? I'm like, I didn't, but I just did everything she taught me to do. I trusted her because she was where I wanted to be. And so I think that's so important. Sometimes we're new and we get started and we're like, oh, I don't know what to do. And we take so long trying to figure things out. But we forget, like, we have the tools on our team page. We have our enroller or their enroller or their enroller, whoever you look up to. And we have that help and we're just not trusting it. So anyways, 7 months in, I was earning more than my husband was. And so we retired him and brought him home. And we've been a full-time family with ItWorks ever since. And then by our 1-year anniversary, we went triple diamond. And then it took me 18 months after that to go presidential. And that was this past November. And then 5 months later, we went ambassador. We've earned over $195,000 in just bonuses. And it's just absolutely, changed everything for us. We're able to give our kids the life that we only ever used to dream about before. We paid off over $120,000 of debt. So when I tell you it's just transformed our life completely, I feel like that doesn't even do it justice. But yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
I love that. I literally got chills as you were, just saying some of the parts of your story, and you actually answered the second question as you were speaking. My second question I had written down was like asking, how did you catch the vision immediately and what did it look like to figure things out? And just like you said, it was really just trusting what your enroller was telling you to do. You did, all of that information is right there. And that's exactly what I always tell my team I did as well. I just trusted that the person that was where I was at was going to give me the information that I needed to get to where she was. And that's really how simple this business is, you guys. Like, we need to stop overcomplicating it sometimes and just do. It's just the action.
Yeah. And I think it's so important to remember to trust the process too. One thing my enroller told me all the time, because I didn't have a lot of people that were liking and commenting on my posts. I didn't have people reaching out to me in the beginning. And I just kept telling her, like, okay, I have 2 likes on all my posts, and it's you and my husband. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if I'm just totally bad at this. And she was like, people are watching, people are watching. And she kept telling me over and over, people are watching, Brittani. I promise, if you believe anything that I say, just trust me, people are watching. And it was so crazy because each month, more and more people started slowly coming out of the woodworks. I always tell people my first month, I only signed 4 customers. By no means had a fast start or had a super hot market. And then my second month, I signed 4. My third month, I signed 9. And my fourth month, I signed 23. And that literally, you guys, like, it was so crazy that month. People were messaging me and they were like, hey, what's that stuff, that hair stuff that you've been posting about for the past several months? And it was people who never liked or commented on a single post, but I was like faithfully posting about hair, skin, and nails because it was my favorite product. And that was, what people just started coming out of the woodworks for. So it's so true when you hear people say things like people have to see things lots of times, and people are always watching. Like, it's just so true. So keep going even when you don't see those outward results yet, and just truly trust the process and trust that if God did it for anyone else, he'll do it for you too.
I love that so much. One of the biggest questions when I posted a little bit about you on my team page that everybody wanted to know was like, how do you manage it all? And I didn't even realize how busy you were when you started this business. Like you said, you were taking care of your grandfather. Your husband was gone long hours during the day. So even now, like where you are at in your business and in the beginning when you did have all that going on as well, do you, have specific set hours that you do this business and focus on your kids and family? Or, do you just kind of do it all the time? Like, what does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, so my personality is very much just, I'm not like a rigid schedule person. And so I just fit it into pockets of time. I will tell you, even though I don't have a rigid schedule, I've always been pretty self-disciplined. Like, I'll stay focused on whatever I'm doing. And so that's my biggest tip. And I know everyone's different and some people need more structure. But for me, like, if I pick up my phone to make a post, I'm not going to deter from that until I make the post. So if one of my kids comes up and they're telling me a story, like, I have no problem telling them to hold on 1 second and I'll make the post. And then I'll put my phone down and then I'll give them my attention. And I think sometimes, like, we just get so caught up in trying to multitask and do like 20 things at once, and then we get nothing done. And then we're stressed and we're anxious. We start feeling guilty. And so for me, like, just kind of realizing from the beginning, like, okay, I don't have a lot of time, so I have to really be smart with the time I have. And so, like, what that looked like when I was brand new, my youngest at the time was 8 weeks old. So I was nursing. If any of you are on here or have ever nursed a baby, you know that there's a lot of time that you're just sitting there holding them, nursing them. So that was when I would like make my post. That's when I would grow my network. That's when I would like and comment on people's things. I just tried to be really smart with that time that I was going to be sitting there with the baby in my arms, because that seemed like the best time to be on my phone, and then I just tried to really utilize like nap time. If my kids were playing by themselves, watching a movie or something, like that was my time I was working. One thing, I never heard this quote back then, but I've heard it now from Rachel Hollis, and it sums up like kind of what I realized back then. She says, like, you have to decide what you want now or what you want most. And that was kind of the epiphany I had back in those days. Like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. I would really like, while I'm nursing the baby, to just kick my feet up in the recliner and watch Vampire Diaries. But that's not going to get me anywhere. So then I was like, okay, like, I have to just suck it up and like turn the TV off, and I need to just sit here and work, because this is going to make our life better in the long term. And I think sometimes we don't realize the weight of those small decisions, but those small choices you make really do, they change so much. I remember hearing one of my ambassador uplines when I started say, like, there's no BV in TV. And like, it was kind of a cheesy saying, but like, it stuck with me. And I was like, okay, she's right. There's really not. And then she said, like, don't listen to the radio in the car, listen to an audiobook or listen to a YouTube training. And so that's what I started doing, was just switching out those small pockets of time and being more efficient with them. And I really do think, like, if you're in the business right now and you're having a hard time figuring things out, and maybe you're feeling kind of anxious and you're like, I just can't get everything done. like look at how you're spending those blocks of time. Because if you can use those blocks of time like efficiently and wisely, it starts getting easier to find other pockets of time you can use. You know, we all have the same amount of time. It's just all how we're spending it. And I mean, I think all of us waste more time than we realize. Even me now, like sometimes I'll get to the, 6 o'clock one evening and I'm like, what have I done today? So it can happen to anyone, even if you're self-disciplined. So just having the courage to examine your own truth. Like if you tell yourself you're so busy that day, like have the courage to sit back and be like, Brittany, was I really busy or was I wasting time? And then just, fix it. I think there's so much freedom in finding what we can do better and improving. Also, just a tip I always like to give people is when I was new, like every night when I was taking a shower, that was self-development time for me. And if I was like doing my makeup or something in the morning, like just any time that like my hands had something in it, like self-development was playing while I was folding laundry, cooking, whatever. So just, even if you feel like that's all you're doing all day is self-development, it's going to help you so much, especially when, the pressure comes on. You're trying to go diamond, you're going to need all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I heard you say on a Zoom that I watched on YouTube once too, was that you self-reflect at the end of every night. If you haven't completed the tasks that are on your to-do list and checklist for the day, you make sure that those things get done. And sometimes that can just be as simple as, oh, I didn't add 25 friends. I'm going to do that before I fall asleep at night. So having that self-reflection on like where your time went that day and just making sure it gets done before the day is over. I love that. And I've used that ever since.
Yeah, that I actually got from Mike Patillo. He talked about like the extra 3% or the concept of doing just one more. That changed the game for me, you guys. I heard that probably when I was like an executive. And he just said like at the end of every day when you're so tired, you're exhausted, you want to throw in the towel, do just one more. And one more could look different for every single one of you. Like it could be just one more round of messages, just one more round of asking people to host a post for you, just one more post for the night, just one more round of adding on Instagram. Like it can look like anything, but like just one more, or he calls it also the extra 3%. And that changed the game for me. And it's still a habit I have literally today as an ambassador. Like when my husband will totally vouch for this, like when I'm laying in bed at night, I literally am on my phone before I go to bed and I will literally just like add some more people on Instagram or I'll unfollow some people or whatever. But like I make sure that last like 5 minutes, it's just something else that I can do because it just makes such a big difference over time,
Yeah, I love that so much. I didn't know that came from Mike, but that's awesome. And I love that extra 3%. Okay, so my next question is about attraction marketing, which I know you are so good at doing. It has really like taken you to where you are today. What would you say to someone who is posting consistently, but not signing consistently by doing so? I know you talked a little bit about this with just trusting the process, but what's that like extra step that you could suggest to them? And yeah, so that's the question. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 things. So number one, sometimes I think we're posting, but we're missing the biggest step at the end, which is the call to action. I see a lot of people that will tell their story, or at least mention something along the lines of what they're doing, but there's no call to action at the end. Every single post I put up every night that I tell my story, at the end of it, I say message or text opportunity to, and I give my phone number. And that is how I sign literally almost every distributor. In fact, I'm just going to show you guys because I always like to show people because people never like take this seriously, but literally my texts are linked to my computer. Just now I'm talking to you guys. Can you guys see it says opportunity? I like literally just got a text that says opportunity, and that's from tonight's post. So I'm only sharing this to say like, don't be scared to put your phone number and think like, oh, I might get weird texts or anything like that. You won't. I've never once gotten a prank text in 2.5 years, but that is how I sign almost every single distributor. And so many people don't know what to say. And so if you give them that easy call to action, they'll take it. But if you don't give them the easy call to action, they won't because they're scared. They don't know what to say. I literally just did a Zoom for my team just 2 nights ago, and I typed an opportunity in my search bar on my text, and I showed them like just how many it's been just like this past month. And it was crazy. It's more than I can literally keep up with, but it's because every single post has that on it. And if you go look at my Facebook, you'll see what I mean. They're all public. You can see anything and take any ideas you want. But I put it literally at every post, and I tell my story as much as I possibly can, at least once a day, but sometimes I tell it like 2 or 3 times a day. So any opportunity I have to tell my story, even if it's small, like for example, maybe my kids are playing outside and I'm like, so thankful that I get to be mama and business owner at the same time. Never in a million years would I have dreamt that I could, you know, watch my kids play at the park and earn an income off my smartphone at the same time. I'm so thankful for 2019 and new opportunities or something like that. And then message or text opportunity to blah, 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 to work off your smartphone with me. So super simple. It's not even like it was a long post, but just anytime you can mention it and then put the call to action, you're like, people are watching and people are going to be interested. But I've seen people that literally do very similar to me, but they miss the call to action. And a lot of times it's for something so silly. They're like, oh, I don't want to put my number out there. And their signing rate is just so much different. And so I think that a lot of times it's the call to action. The second thing that I think is that if you are not growing your network, so a lot of times I'll see people make amazing posts, like they're incredible, but they have like 100 followers on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, that's a problem because that's only 100 people seeing your things. So I think the missing piece for most people is just the call to action or the growing your network. And then the last thing, if you're doing every single thing right, you're growing faithfully, you're writing amazing posts, putting the call to action at the end, all of the above, and you're still not signing, I would just question, is there something inside of you that doesn't quite believe? Because I think that when we don't fully believe that we can, and we don't fully believe that people want to sign with us, that does kind of come across into everything that we do. And so if that's the problem, the good news is this is a simple fix. You can decide tonight that you absolutely are, anyone would be lucky to sign with you. And what I always tell my team who's having a hard time with that is, do you know, like if God sent 10 people to you right now to sign with you, and they literally just came, boom, 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 knocked on your door, was like, oh my gosh, I've been watching you on Facebook, I want to sign with you. Would you be the very best leader that you could be to them? Even if you don't have everything figured out, like, do you know in your heart that you would be as good of a leader to them as you can? And I'm sure almost all of you, if not every single one of you, is going to answer yes to that, because you know you would. You know you would be so excited they wanted to join you, and you would give them everything you could. So when you answer yes to that, it just got really simple. Like, people would be lucky to sign with you because you're going to give them your all. You're going to be as good as you possibly can be for them. And so kind of just getting through that roadblock in your mind, I think sometimes is like all you need to do. And then you can go out there with that newfound confidence and know, like, okay, I'm going to post my heart out and be so bold with this opportunity, because anyone who joins me, if they stick with me, they're going to go straight to the top with me.
I love it. Yeah, that second piece is so important, and people can just really like somehow sense your vibes coming off of you, even if it is through social media. I know that's so true with me. Like, if I'm not 100% on, not like, you know, I'm not attracting as many people, but the second I change my mindset and get out of my own funk, suddenly people are like swarming me and just want to join. It's just so crazy how that works. And that just comes through personal development every single day and doing it in those times that Brittani told us, you know, when you're doing your hair, driving, brushing your teeth. Okay, so how would you train your new, like, how do you train your new distributors to grasp the concept of this, you know, with the photos? I know that can be a big thing for a lot of people on my team, feeling like their life isn't where they want it now. So they feel like they don't have anything to post in terms of lifestyle, even, you know, in terms of their story, or even product wise. You know, what are some tips that you would have there?
Yeah. So I think it's important to remember, like, anyone you look up to in the business that takes pretty pictures and you feel like has it all together, they did it when they started. And so we all have to start from like down here and learn, and it's awkward and we grow, and then one day we end up over here. Time hop, you guys. When I look back at 2 years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, what was I thinking? So don't think like, oh my gosh, I have to instantly just wake up tomorrow posting perfect, because that's not practical, and you don't want to put that expectation on yourself. Strive for progress. One thing that I did when I got started, I lived in a really tiny house. It was really dark. It had yellow lighting. Like, there was nowhere pretty to take a picture. It wasn't updated. I didn't have pretty backdrops. So I quickly realized, like, okay, if I want to get a decent picture, I need to just step outside. And so I would we had a big tree in our front yard, and I would just sit my kids by the tree and just take a picture of them. Sometimes I would go out there and just like hold a glass of greens in the, you know, in front of like the grass and the tree in the background, and just take a bright picture of it. That's where I go take my selfies. Or I'd stand in front of a window and take a selfie in front of the window with the light hitting my face. But just using what you have. Don't focus on what you don't have. Just figure out what you do have. The best thing I ever learned in this business was just to be solution-minded. And I love what John Maxwell says. He says, whatever you're looking for, you'll find. So if you're looking for problems, you'll find more problems, always. If you're looking for solutions, you'll always find them. And so instead of saying like, well, I have nowhere pretty in my house to take pictures, I have nothing nice to wear, I'm never ready. Like instead of focusing on all the things that, you could view as like hurdles, like start focusing on how you can fix those things and how you can find solutions. So for me, the most practical thing I tell people is just going outside. Even to this day, and living in a way nicer place than I did when I started, I still go outside because the lighting, natural light, you just can't beat. And so I think that's the easiest and simplest way. And then just getting creative with the products that you have on hand. If you're on a budget, save your empty bottles. I used to save like empty bottles of cleanse and like empty bottles of probiotic. Every month I would try something new, and on my auto shipment, I always ran an 80 BV auto shipment since the day I joined. Even when we were so broke, you guys, because my enroller told me when she joined and she was broke, she ran one every single month. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do what she does. I'm going to figure this out. And so I would try new things each month. But because money was tight, I got like as close to 80 as I could. I just saved all those empty bottles, and that way I had tons of props even when I ran out and was trying different things. I could always go back and post that bottle of Confiance or post the greens or whatever.
And then what about like sharing your story? I know you have some really good tips on how to share your story at the beginning of your journey when you feel like you might not have one yet.
Yeah. So I think the easiest way to do this is just to tell your enroller story and then transition into a really just nonchalant version of your story, I guess you could say. And so I always like to just give a little example. So like for me, brand new, you guys heard my story at the beginning. What I would have done was say something like, for months and months, I watched a girl on social media rapidly change her life with a business she worked off her smartphone. I always wondered if it was something I could do too. And finally, one night, I reached out to her and decided to get started. Now I'm working off my smartphone too, and it's already been such a blessing for my family. I'm so excited for what this year holds for us. If you've been praying for an opportunity too, I would love to talk to you. Message me or text opportunity too. So you see, like that could have been written on my second day in the business and nobody would have been any wiser. You don't have to have this huge success story. You just have to put out a message of hope. People want to follow someone who knows where they're going, and people want to follow someone who clearly is committed to where they're going. And so if people can sense that you're excited and you are on the path to somewhere better than where you are now, they don't care that if you're a six-figure income earner or not. They care that you're going somewhere that they might want to go. And so get out of your head that you have to have this crazy story, because if that was true, like I would have never signed anyone, because I would have never been able to sign anybody until I had the story, and would have never had the story until I got the team, So like, I think it's just important to like debunk that from the beginning. Like you don't have to have a story. You just have to be confident. And just never underestimate the power of your story. So like as I got more confident telling my story, like that developed and I started getting more vulnerable and I started sharing that we were in debt up to our eyeballs. That was something that I was really embarrassed to share when I got started, because I came from a family who was pretty well off, and I was really embarrassed for my family to know that we had gotten ourselves in such a pickle, like with debt. But finally, like, I was probably like 2 months into the business. I didn't care anymore. I was like, you know what? Like God is doing things in my life through this business. I'm going to be bold because someone out there needs to hear it. And so I would say like, after struggling, and buried in thousands of dollars of credit card debt for so long, I cried out to God for a solution. I'm so thankful He dropped an opportunity to work off my smartphone in my lap. This is the year everything's changing. We're paying off this debt more and more each and every month. And then again, transitioning into that call to action. So get creative. Like again, just using where you're at right now is going to be so relatable to more people than you could possibly know. I also always like to tell this story. I have a triple diamond on my team today who literally, she reached out to me when I was an executive, and she ended up joining when I was Ruby about to go diamond. And she told the team this actually like a few months ago. When she reached out to me, she thought I was like a top leader with It Works because of how I was posting. She just assumed I was making like mega money, but I was literally an executive when she reached out and went Ruby the next month. But that was just from like just being bold in my posts. There was nothing actually like really monetarily that was said in any of the posts. It was just like that message that was being communicated. So people just want to follow someone that knows where they're going. If you know you're committed to this business and you know that quitting's not an option, it's not on the table and it's never going to be, and you start posting like with that confidence and just straight from your heart, you will just be shocked at who God brings out of the woodworks to you.
I love it. Yes. Like, and guys, if you didn't catch exactly what she said for that post, we have this recorded so you can go back to the recording, write it down, because that is perfect. And then, like she said, just start branching off from that post and getting more and more vulnerable every single time. And that is seriously like the game changer that changed my business as well. When I was just like, I don't care anymore what people are going to think of me. I don't know how much time you have left. I know you said.
Oh, no, you're.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to keep you for too long. I know you said sometimes these go like 30 minutes, sometimes 45. So, all right. So I'll keep going with some good questions that these girls have. Have you always had people come to you in this business, or do you ever reach out for distributors? I know that's a huge question these girls had for you.
Yeah. So I've pretty much always practiced just 100% attraction marketing. The only time I've ever done any reach outs has only been if I'm a part of like a challenge group that has like challenged you, like reach out to your 5 dream team members. I'll always complete it. Like when I was brand new, any challenge group my enroller added me to, I would do anything that they said to do because again, I trusted where they were and I wanted to be where they were at. And so, I mean, those are the only exceptions I've ever really reached out. Or like if ever someone is just really like strongly on my heart and I don't even know why, but I can't stop thinking about this one person who I never even talked to. It's the weirdest thing. I keep seeing them on my newsfeed. Then sometimes in those cases, I'll go with my gut. I'll just pray and I'll be like, God, like, am I supposed to reach out to this person? And I'll just send them a voice note and I'll just say, hey girl, I know this is so random. I don't know if you've ever really noticed what I do, but I work off social media and off my smartphone. And I know this is so crazy, but I've just been thinking about you a lot and I just can't shake the feeling I'm supposed to reach out to you. If you're not interested, that's totally fine. But if you would be open to me sending you some info, I would love to send some info your way. I just think it would be such a blessing in your life and I'd love to help you. Boom, like 30-second voice note. It's so non-invasive. No one in their right mind would ever respond anything but nice to that. And so that's something that I'll do if that happens. And every now and then, like I said, that happens. It actually happened to me like a few weeks ago. I just saw someone that I like literally never see. And I'm like, even though they were on Facebook because I never see their stuff. And so I think you can't go wrong with following your heart. If you feel that nudge, respond to it. Anytime God has ever laid someone on my heart, it's always been for a reason. Like they'll end up responding back like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I've actually always wondered what you do or something like that. So aside from that, I've always just practiced complete attraction marketing. So I've always just really faithfully told my story and really aggressively grown my network. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people think like, oh, well, I just don't think anybody would come to me, or I post regularly, no one comes. But I think, again, those two just have to be married together. When I got started, I only had 230 followers on Instagram, and now I have almost 11,000. And if I'm being honest, there's been days I haven't added as much as I could. Like if I would have been super consistent, I'd probably be double that now. But just from being mostly consistent the past 2.5 years, like that's the growth I've had. And so if you're committed to growing your network aggressively and you're going to tell your story really religiously every single night, sometimes more than once a day, I do think inevitably people, want to know what you're doing.
Awesome. And just off of that, do you mainly grow your business, Facebook, Instagram, or do you kind of do a little bit of both?
100% both of them. I've always just treated Instagram just like Facebook. And so if I make a post on Facebook, it goes on Instagram too. And then I do make sure like on Instagram, I keep it really clean. So like on Instagram, I archive stuff. Like if I do a before and after on Instagram, I archive it like half a day later. If I do, I don't know if any of you guys follow me on Facebook, but if you do, you'll see these work from phone position filled posts. I do these every time I sign a distributor, and they're really huge because it's like a ripple effect. Like you just signed a distributor and made this post and it gets me someone else interested in the business. And so it's just like something I made on Over. You can also use word swag. But just, I encourage you, like it works really well for me. Some of you might not want to do it, but I love doing this and I teach my team to do it too. I have that same picture and I post it every single time I sign a distributor, and I just say another work from phone position filled. I'm so excited for Hannah. She just claimed a position with me working off her smartphone. I'm so excited to show her how I bring in an income completely off my phone while being a mom of 5, something like that. And then I say message me or text opportunity too. And so on Facebook, I leave those up, but on Instagram, I archive them like 24 hours later. So I leave them up long enough to get interest, but I don't want them like cluttering my Instagram feed. So that's the only thing I do different with Instagram. But other than that, I treat them the same. I grow them both, and just am super consistent on engaging with both platforms.
I love it. And one of the things I did want to mention that you talked about when you were saying, like, if somebody is laid on your heart, I just wanted to comment on this, but I forgot. You said that you send voice messages. And one of the things I just want to say to you guys that are all listening on my team is don't be nervous to send voice messages, because they hear Brittani's excitement when they do that. I love sending voice messages to both potential customers and distributors. It definitely like changed the game when I started doing this. And I used to be so nervous of it too. Like I hated my voice. I didn't want to say something wrong. For one, you can, if you just swipe up, you can delete it and try a new one. Or you can send it to yourself and then forward that message to the person after you like try it a few times. And my biggest tip is just don't listen back to yourself. If you really like, are that nervous, just don't even worry about it. Nobody else is going to think anything weird of your voice or what you're saying. That you're the only person that's going to be you. And I think that does make such a massive difference when reaching out to somebody in that manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that you're so big on voice messages. I love it. And your voice is so calming when you send them. I'm like, you guys are going to love her, because Brittani just sends like the most calming voice messages ever. Okay, this is a really great, a good question that somebody had for you. And you did touch on this a little bit when you were saying in the beginning of your business, you were reaching to your enroller and saying things like, nobody's seeing these. I'm only getting 2 likes on my post. Nobody's commenting. But after, just from your time in this business, what things do you do and what steps do you take every day to get strangers off of the internet interacting on your posts and building relationships with you?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is just offering some sort of value in your posts, being real, being vulnerable, like letting people see into your life. Now with stories, you can post so much stuff in stories and you can show them things you wouldn't normally make a post about. I like to think of like your Instagram, your actual, someone looks at like your first 9 pictures. Think of that as like the cover of your book, of your life. And then your stories are all the pages. And so make sure those main pictures are like really pretty, really crisp. Like those are your best of the best. But then all those other things you're doing throughout the day, throw open your story, because people are so nosy and they are so much more interested in your life than you would think. I did a story of, my daughter's birthday was last week, and I took like a really pretty picture of her for my Facebook and Instagram of her birthday, like writing a birthday post to her. But then while my husband was outside taking a picture of her and her cake, like I snapped a picture of my husband taking a picture of her. And I put it in my story and said the behind the scenes life of a family who works off social media. You guys, like so many people replied to that and were like, oh my gosh, this is so cute, or oh my gosh, this is great, or laughing faces or whatever. And so it was just an example of like something I would never normally post, but in my story, people, were eating it up. And it just kind of like, I think allows them to see more of your personality and stuff too. So there's that. And then in your post, like just finding something you can offer value in. So for example, when I started, I struggled with anxiety a lot. And that was something, again, I was really insecure about. I come from like a really legalistic family who's super reserved, super conservative, like you don't talk about your problems. And so me making a vulnerable post about anxiety is like a big deal for my family. But I made a post about confianza and just how much it had helped me and how I'd struggled with anxiety so much. And like, guys, it didn't sound salesy at all. It was like from the bottom of my heart. And I talked about how, I've always been so insecure about like the thought of getting on anxiety medicine or anything like that, but that, this little plant-based supplement, a friend in the business recommended to me, and it's just changed everything. It's made me feel me again. And if you can relate to this, if you've been struggling, like I would love to share more of my story with you and share about how this maybe can help you. And literally this was the month that I went Ruby, I think, and I signed like 9 customers for Confianza that next week from that post. And it was crazy because this is in that season when not a lot of people were liking or commenting on my posts, but it just confirmed what my enroller said. They were watching. And the second I put something out there that more people than I would have realized could relate to, I started seeing people come. And doing posts like that have only strengthened my interaction as time went on with the business. Also, just sometimes just super simple tips for people that don't even have anything to do with products. So I actually do a lot of posts about drinking water, and I'll like make a post, like a picture of me with like a Starbucks tumbler, and I'll talk about like if you're having a hard time getting your water in, get a cute cup from Starbucks. It makes it so much easier to get the water in throughout the day. And then I'll give a few facts about why hydration is so important, things like that. So just like, what I post about may not be anything you would be interested in posting about, but use that as just a way to get your wheels turning on like what is something you care about that you would want to make a post about. Maybe you love to cook, and just sharing like a simple recipe, like just anything you can post about that people can find value from is just so, so huge. You know, if you're really good at makeup, you know, sharing some makeup tips or how you get a flawless finish, you know, whatever. Just anything at all. I feel like sometimes we forget to share those kinds of things because we're so focused on business or products, but sharing those kinds of things have been what have really like brought more of a stronger following to me. And then when they see me post about keto coffee and greens, they're so much more receptive because they've kind of gotten to know me and like formed a little bit of like an attachment to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm always saying to you guys, share your lifestyle outside of just business posts or just product posts. Like people want to be, take people on a journey with you of your life using the stories as well. But also you can do this on your regular Facebook or Instagram page. Not every single post has to be directly geared towards the business. Like this morning I made a post just about my kids playing. It didn't say anything about the business. It didn't say, message me if you want to be a distributor, whatever. I wouldn't usually say that anyways, but it's showing people who I am and what I'm passionate about and just a snapshot into our everyday life. And they get to they're going to put the pieces together. They're going to be like, wow, like this girl is at home all the time with her kids, or she's doing X, Y, and Z with her kids all the time. Because then I hit them with the more vulnerable, heartfelt story post. And like Brittani said, those posts are the ones that you build relationships through. I'm building, like, people know my kids, people know their names. They know specifics about what each one of them likes, or, they'll comment on specific things I always say about Zachary because they know us from what I'm sharing with them every day. And same things with using those stories. Don't just, screenshot or go on Pinterest and only take, the keto coffee slides and add a poll. People want to, if you're only ever doing that, nobody's ever going to want to click your photo when they see that you're doing a story, you have a story up. But if you're giving them those snapshots of your everyday life, like just take a video of your kids walking outside. That's what I do. I go on a walk and I record my kids running, and I just say another day in the life of Michael and Zachary. And, just like you said, you got so much interaction on one of the things you posted the other day. The other day, I literally posted a picture of just me at the park with my kids. And it was this really cool slide a swing that they have there. And I got so many messages off of this one post, and it started those conversations up. And some people went into asking questions about the business just from that. So I completely agree with that. You have to be sharing about your life and giving people value in that as well. All right. So I'm going to just have a few more, or one more question, and then we can tie this up, just because I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're pushing for that Ruby 2.0. I'm so excited for you. You're amazing. So this is a really good question, and I don't know how easy it is to answer. I know I always struggle with answering this for my team, but what is your best tip for finding incredible distributors who run with you and catch the vision? And how do you, do you have people who just have that right away? And what do you think is the reason why you can sign distributors that catch the vision right from the get-go?
Yeah. So I think that the number one thing you can do is be who you want to attract. And sometimes that can feel like just such a loaded answer. You're like, well, how do I do that? But think of the things that you really want to see in your team members and commit to being a 10 in all those categories. So if you want team members who are fiercely loyal, then you be fiercely loyal. If you want people who are very self-disciplined and don't have to be told what to do, then you do everything you need that to do every single day. If you want people who have an amazing attitude and always find the positive and the good in life, then you work on your attitude and finding the positive all around you. But the things that we work really hard on being ourselves, we inevitably start attracting those kind of people too. The more positive that I've gotten being in the business, it's only helped me attract more positive people. And same thing with the loyalty front, loyalty is so huge to me. And just the more that I've grown in this business, and It Works is 100% my home. I love this company so much. And I truly view it as a family. And just any quality time I ever get with anybody, Hannah and I were at Disney a couple months ago with Cammie, and those moments are so special to me. And people can sense in my posts and sense when I talk about It Works in a live, they can tell this is my home. I love it here. And so I think that also attracts those type of people who are looking for that. They want a home. They want somewhere where they feel a part of something. And I think that all these things kind of come through self-development. The more you're willing to grow and develop yourself you're going to only attract higher people. You guys have heard Mark say, I'm sure like a million times, that you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that your income will be an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So in this business, like I was faced with a lot of tough decisions. Like I had to really elevate my circle quickly. I came from a really toxic, negative family, and I didn't have a lot of really good friends when I got started. And so I had to quickly realize, like, okay, I got to surround myself with people who are where I want to be. And I think when we make those kinds of decisions, like it's not an overnight thing, but each and every day we're growing and we start bringing people along for the ride who are there too. And then what else was I going to say? Just being intentional. This is like a practical tip, like being intentional with who you're adding to your network. So I'm not going to add people to my network that don't look like someone I would want to work with, because you want people reaching out to you about the business who are people you want to work with. And so when you're going to add Facebook friends, if that's not someone you'd want to work with, like don't even bother adding them. Add someone that is someone you want to work with.
Yeah, I love that. We've actually been diving into a lot of training on that, because I had some girls coming to me and being like, I don't even like my newsfeed anymore. I have all these weird people on there. I'm like, well, are you being intentional with who you're adding? I always brief a profile before clicking the follow or friend button. And that can just take like an extra 0.5 seconds when you're networking. And then you're going to get the right people, because that did happen to me at the beginning of this business when I was just like relentlessly adding. And I was like, wait a second, now my network is filled with all these people that are nothing like me. So I definitely agree so much with that you have to be adding those right people that you would want to work with, or that you would just connect with in real life. So they are going to connect with you and purchase your coffee or purchase your cleanse or hair, skin, and nails or whatever you're posting about. And you're going to have better interaction on your posts when you're doing so, and you're adding that value, just like Brittani talked about. All right, last big question, and then we're going to let you go. How do you personally stay fired up in this business, whether it is when you started and you ever felt discouraged, which I hate that word, or even today, and how do you continue to stay motivated and continue to see that vision? And you can bring the red on this one. I know you have that red inside of you, so feel free.
Yeah. So I think number one, when you start this business, like you have to treat this business like your marriage. Quitting cannot be on the table, and you can't, whine, throw a temper tantrum anytime something doesn't go your way, anytime you miss a promotion, you miss a bonus, whatever. Like you have to truly have that long-term vision from day one. And again, kind of going back to what I was saying a couple questions ago, like you got to think about what you want now versus what you want most. What you want most is a better life. What you want most is freedom for your family, is to be able to take your kids on vacation, to be able to do the things that you want to do with them. But you will never be able to do those things if you're short-sighted and you think about you focus on and dwell on what's happening in the here and now. So decide now that like you're resilient, and that you're going to persist no matter what happens. I love the quote from Stephen Furtick, persist until the miracle happens. And it's literally something I write on my affirmations every day. Like I literally have it written here. I persist until the miracle happens. And so that's like my mantra with everything with the business. Like it doesn't matter if things are tough. Most things that are worth having in your life are going to be tough. And you're not going to build something that lasts, and something that's sustainable, and something that can create a legacy for years to come for your family in a week or in a month. There's a reason that Mark says, give us a year and we'll change your life. And so you've got it right now, right here today, if you're brand new, decide that the long-term is what you're focused on. And as things come, like just take them as they go and just move on, be solution-minded, and just always be, focused on like how you can grow and how you can get better. But the other thing that I wanted to share, I actually just finished an audiobook written by Navy SEAL. And the thing that he said at the end of the book was just so huge. And it kind of just sums up like how I probably started feeling about the business around the time I went, I would say, triple diamond. I had read a quote around that time that said, I want to arrive at the end of my life and look Jesus in the face and say, I used everything you gave me. And it's something that has stuck with me ever since. It's something that has stuck with me on the hard days. Like, I don't want God to look at me and say, like, I gave you all this potential and you did nothing with it. John Maxwell says, potential is God's gift to us. What we do with it is our gift back to him. And that's something that's in 100% of each and every one of our control. But you get to decide, and no one can decide what you're going to do with it. You have to decide. But anyways, in this audiobook I just finished, he said something at the end that was so powerful. They asked him, they said, if you could sum up your entire life to somebody, like, what would you say? In the beginning of the book, he told how before he went to the SEALs and like started doing all these incredible things, he was spraying for cockroaches. That was like where he was. He was like 300 and something pounds spraying for cockroaches. And he like turned his whole life around, went to the SEALs, and he's just like a total inspiration. But he said that when they asked him that question, he said, I had a dream one night, and I realized that like I arrived at heaven, and God played this video for me, and he showed me, me going through Hell Week with the Navy SEALs, and me coming out on the other side, graduating top of my class, me running, all these, I forget what they're called. They're like 100-mile marathons, whatever you call them, running 6 of these, whatever marathons, and then completing Army Ranger training, doing this, doing that, all this stuff. He played this whole video for me, and he said, that could have been your life, but you chose to just keep spraying for cockroaches. You didn't trust me for more. You never stepped out and endured temporary discomfort so you could have any of this. You chose to just keep spraying for cockroaches. And I'm overly simplifying right now. I was probably so much more eloquent when he said it, but I just thought it was so, so powerful. And he said at the end, after he said this whole thing, he said, if you are not willing to step out and endure temporary discomfort, you will never live the life you're meant to have. He was like, everything that I have had that I have now has cost me everything. Like, it's cost me a lot of pain. It's cost me discomfort. It's cost me things that most people would never put themselves through. And they would be content to just keep spraying for cockroaches. But I knew like I couldn't do that the rest of my life. And so that's why I've done what I've done, and that's where I'm at. And I just think that is so just sums up like the opportunity for all of us. Like, we can choose to take hold of this golden opportunity, and we can work hard, and we can put our feelings aside on the hard days and do what we need to do and show up when other people walk away. And we can create a life that most people will never see because they're not willing to do the things that it's going to take. Or we can choose to give up when the going gets tough, and we can choose to, whine and complain and walk away and sell ourselves short. And one day we're going to have to face God, and we're going to have to say, yeah, I knew I could have kept going. I knew I could have had that life, but it was just so hard. I didn't want to endure that discomfort. And so I just hope that, that's a story that you'll remember on those days when the going gets tough. Because I'm telling you, any good thing I've ever had with this business, the devils come at me hard. When I went presidential, so many things happened that month, you guys, that I can't even begin to explain. When I went ambassador, so many things happened. But every single day I kept waking up saying, I know it's happening. I know it's happening. This is just further confirmation it's happening, because why would the enemy be attacking me so hard and trying to keep me from this unless he knew I was going to go after it and I was going to get it? And that's the way you have to look at things. You have to know that, like, if he is attacking you, there's something inside of you that he's afraid of. You can either give him the victory and give in, and you can just lay down on the ground and cower in, fear and just succumb to whatever's happening, or you can rise up and you can say, bring it on. Because I obviously know you just confirmed everything I need to know. Obviously, there's something big for me, and God's hand is on my life. So keep coming at me, but I'm not going anywhere. And I know that on those days that everything in the world is going wrong, it's hard to make that choice, but it's the most fulfilling choice you'll ever make. And every time you make that choice, you get a little bit stronger. And every time that you get a little bit stronger, you're able to help someone else, and you're able to pull them along and say, come on, I've been through this too, you'll be fine. But you'll never know how strong you are if you just keep giving up. And some of you are on here and you're probably like, well, I've never given up, I'm still here. Yeah, but you know what I mean. You keep taking a step back, you keep taking a month off, and you're never really just going all in with this business. And I just encourage you, go all in and watch what happens.
I love it. Boom. You're amazing. And one of the things I love most about you is that you can tell how much personal development you do and how seriously you take it, because as you speak, you have all of this knowledge just like up in this brain of yours. It's awesome. You're amazing. I'm so proud of you hitting ambassador in the time frame that you did, and just your business is booming. And I know why, because you're constantly developing yourself and pouring into others and pouring into your team, and so super knowledgeable. Thank you so much for doing this with us tonight. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and go continue to crush it. I'm cheering you on to Ruby 2.0, girl.
Thank you guys for having me. I hope you guys have an amazing month end.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you guys want to stay on and chat with me for a little bit, I'll be on. We can do a power hour together, but have a great night for the rest of everybody. And I'll start recording now. Bye.
Bye.